It was a Thursday night, the kind of quiet evening in spring when the air smells a little like flowers and fresh-cut grass, and everything seems to slow down. I was in the kitchen with my apron on, humming to a song on the radio and stirring a pot of stew, my husband's favorite. It was just a normal night in our comfortable lived-in house in the suburbs. My husband Michael was watching a game in the living room, sometimes shouting with joy or frustration. It had been one of those easy days between us, the kind you don't really notice until they're gone and you miss them. "Are you expecting anyone?" He frowned and muted the TV. A tall man who looked to be in his early 60s was standing there with a shy smile. He had on an old leather jacket and was holding a bottle of wine and a small travel bag. His hair was mostly gray, but he had a playful look in his eyes. "Hey, Mike," he said with a big grin. "It's been a while." Michael's face lit up as he walked over. "No way, Doug." Doug Stanton, the one and only. He laughed and stepped inside to give him a hug. Doug was Michael's old friend from college and the best man at our wedding. I hadn't seen him in over 20 years. The last I knew, he had moved to Oregon, started a business, gotten divorced, and then just sort of disappeared from our lives. Michael slapped him on the back, full of their old easy friendship. "What are you doing here, man?" Doug shrugged and smiled. "I was passing through town and thought I'd stop by. I know it's last minute. I hope it's not a bother." "Not at all," I said with a welcoming smile. "You're right on time for dinner. I made extra." There was a quiet sadness about him under his friendly smile, a tired look in his eyes. I didn't ask about it, not then. We all sat around our old wooden dining table, talking and laughing as if no years had gone by. Doug told funny stories about their college days, some I knew and some I didn't, and we all drank wine like we were young again. As they talked, my mind drifted for a second to the videos. My daughter sometimes shows me how they all end with some cheerful voice saying, "Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest stories." It felt so strange to think of that here, in this quiet room where the most important stories were the ones nobody was recording. Doug watched me more than I would have expected, not in a weird way, but with a kind of gentle interest. At first I thought it was just him being nostalgic. I had always liked him even back then, but his gaze stayed on me, making me feel seen, like he was noticing the woman I was now, not just the one he remembered. Later, after Michael left the room to take a long call from his brother, Doug and I sat in the living room. "You know," Doug said, looking at his wine, "you haven't changed much." I laughed. "You should get your eyes checked. The mirror shows me something different every morning." "I don't mean how you look," he said. "I mean what's inside you. You still have that light." His voice was quiet and honest. I wasn't sure what to say. "I'm glad you came," I said after a moment. "It's been a long time." "Yeah, too long." There was a quiet pause that didn't feel strange, just full. "I needed this," he said. "To be honest, I didn't just happen to be nearby. I planned to come here. I've been feeling lost, and I thought coming back to a place that felt like home might help." I looked at him and saw that the tiredness in his eyes wasn't just from his trip, it was from life. "You're always welcome here, Doug," I told him gently. He looked at me, his eyes getting softer. "Thank you, that means a lot." Michael came back in then, and the moment was over. But I felt something had changed, a quiet shift under the surface. I didn't know where it would go, but I knew something human had started that night. A connection to a part of myself I hadn't thought about in years. What he saw in me the next morning was quiet. When I walked into the kitchen, he was sitting at the table with a coffee, wearing the same shirt from the day before. He nodded. "Better than I have in a long time." I laughed. "That couch is magic. That's what your 50s feel like," I said. Familiar and strange at the same time. He looked at me with that same quiet focus. "Sometimes," I said, "but I try not to. It can feel heavy." He nodded like he knew exactly what I meant. We went for a walk later. I needed to go to the market, and he came with me. "I almost called you once," Doug said as we sat on a park bench. "Years ago, after my divorce, Doug," I said, "we all have our own messes. You had this warmth, this kindness. You made me feel like I could be a better man." His voice broke a little, and it surprised me. I wanted to comfort him like an old friend, but another part of me wanted to lean into the feeling that was growing between us. He looked at me like that small touch meant the world. "Doug," I said softly, "you don't have to carry all of this by yourself." He looked me in the eyes for a moment. "Neither do you." We walked back home quietly, our hands sometimes brushing against each other. When Michael got back later, Doug was back to his old, funny self, joking about football and teasing Michael. But under the surface, something was different. All I could think about was how Doug had looked at me, not as someone from his past, but as someone he wanted to know now. It wasn't love, not yet. but it was something real, and it made me wonder what other feelings I had forgotten about over the years. The next day felt tense. Doug was quiet, like he was hiding something. I knew what it was because I was doing it too. Michael left to play golf, and we were alone again. Doug helped me clean the kitchen. I should probably leave today, he said after a while. I don't want to be a bother. You're not a bother, Doug, I said, looking at him. Are you leaving because you want to? Or because you're scared to stay? He looked at me, and for a second, everything was open and honest. I don't want to cause any problems, he said. You haven't? I said. Not yet. He laughed a little. That yet is the whole problem. You're not the only one who feels confused, I said quietly. I don't know what this is, but I feel it too. He stepped a little closer. I keep thinking about how different my life could have been, he said in a low voice. If I had said something? Years ago, and what would you have said? I asked. He paused, then whispered, that I always had feelings for you, even when I shouldn't have. The words hit me hard. The room felt so quiet. Then he reached out and his hand brushed against mine. It was just a touch, but I didn't pull away. I don't want to hurt Michael, I said, my voice shaking. We stood there for a moment, caught between the past and the present. Then Doug stepped back. You're a good woman, he said, his voice tight. He grabbed his coat. I'll pack. An hour later, he was gone. But in the quiet that followed, I knew I had forgotten what it felt like to be truly seen by someone, and I didn't know what to do with that feeling. Weeks went by. Doug didn't call, and neither did I. Life went back to normal, but something had changed in me. I still loved Michael. He was a good, kind man. But I had to admit that loving someone and feeling alive with them were not always the same thing. All Doug did was see me, and that was enough to wake me up. One evening a month later, I was sitting on the back porch by myself. I thought about that moment in the kitchen, the connection I had felt. It wasn't just about being attracted to him. It was about being recognized. In that moment, I saw a reflection of myself, a woman who could still feel deeply. I didn't feel ashamed. I just felt human. Later that night, in bed, I turned to Michael. Hey, I whispered. I've been thinking. I want us to go on a trip, just us. He opened his eyes. Really? Yeah, I said. I think we need a reset. He took my hand. I'd like that. I never told him what almost happened with Doug, because it wasn't about cheating. It was about rediscovering myself. The next morning, I found the note Doug had left. I had been afraid to read it. It said, "Thank you for reminding me of who I used to be, and who I still might become. Take care of your beautiful life, Doug." I held the note and smiled. In those few days, I had found a part of myself I had lost. And because of that, I could come back to my own life with a fuller heart. Maybe we only get a few moments in life that wake us up. Doug was one of those moments for me, and now it was up to me to carry that feeling forward.